How's it going, guys? Cameron here, as Canadian Gamer, coming at you with another video. Today we're playing Lotus 2 RECS on the Sega Genesis. And we're going to start things off here, and we're actually going to pick the Lotus M200. We're not going to pick the Esprit. And there's a lot to say on this game. This was a huge endeavor, so for anyone who's taking the time to watch this video, I greatly appreciate it. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with this game, it was developed by Gremlin, same dev team behind the Top Gear series. So although the Genesis never got Top Gear, the original Top Gear, or Top Gear 3000 like the Super NES did, the Genesis actually got Lotus Championship Racing and Lotus 2 RECS. Now, if you read up on it, Lotus Championship Racing on the Genesis is actually Lotus 2, and Lotus 2 RECS is actually based on Lotus 3, which was released on the Amiga and I think the PC, if I'm not mistaken. So anyhow, you're seeing the gameplay here, and one thing I do want to mention here, there is some weather at play. A lot of times, depending on the track, your car will be pushed around by the wind, and there's obstacles on the track as well, such as tumbleweed on this track, as you can see. Now, I've chosen to play this game with automatic transmission. It took me a very long time to beat this game. This is time trials, by the way. You can play championship, and that involves different tracks, and it's very similar to Top Gear, where you have to stop and refuel your vehicle, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, you do. So yeah, time trials, playing it through here. It took forever to beat this game. One thing I want to mention here, like a lot of the Sega Genesis games of the day, the music is really good in this game, done by Barry Leach. I believe that's his name. Same guy that did the music for Top Gear and for Horizon Chase Turbo. However, if you play this game listening to the music, it disables the sound effects. And I didn't really realize this until I watched someone else do a playthrough of this game. And you need to hear the sound effects. You need to hear the sound of your engine. You need to hear when your tires touch gravel, and you can hear the car decelerate, so you can get back on the road and get back up to speed. Sometimes with the Sega Genesis controller, you think you've got the button pressed down all the way, and you don't. And sometimes the car can, like I said, slow down, and you don't even realize it because you can't hear the sound effects. Same goes for hitting objects. You don't realize the impact that has on your acceleration until you play the game listening to the sound effects. So for that reason, I played the game with the music off. I used to play the game with the music on, and I would get all the way to the final stage, and I couldn't see it all the way through. And it wasn't until I turned the music off that I was able to focus more on hazards on the road and what my engine was doing, and I was able to finally conquer this game. Now, I'm kind of curious if I played the game using manual transmission, if it would have been a lot easier, because the thing is off the starting line, that's where you're shifting gears. But once you get going in this game, a little bit of a hint for anyone that wants to try this: if you use your brakes in this game, that's what's going to cause you to run out of time. The best way to get through each circuit, if you will, each stage, is to not use the brake, but to just let off the gas. And that's enough that you can get around some of the tight sections, and you can make your way through. Like I said, if you use the brakes, you're going to be screwed. Now, you'll see here on this stage, there's a little bit of wind at play. There's a little bit of water on the road. And you can see, maybe you don't notice it, but I am actually trying to strategically get around all of these cars, because if you bang into them, like I said, like right there, you wouldn't realize it with the sound effects disabled. When you bang into the car, that has a huge impact on your speed. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I have to look into it. I'm not sure if when you hit an obstacle or another vehicle, if that actually reduces your time limit. We'll get to that once we hit the last stage. and I'll explain more why I think that. Again, I need to probably do a little bit more research on that. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's hard to look at the time when you're playing this game. You can't take your eyes off the road. And another thing I want to mention here, a few guys in the community, guys and gals, have done speed runs of this game using the red Lotus Esprit. I was not able to beat this game with the Lotus Esprit. I was only able to beat it with this car here. I have not tried playing the game with the yellow car. This car accelerates quicker than the Lotus Esprit, but it doesn't have the top speed. But I feel like that's moot point, because you're going around enough corners letting off the gas that top speed doesn't always really play a factor in this game, at least as far as the time trials are concerned. So there you can see that was a short track there. It's odd that there's other cars on the road because it is a time trial. I don't really understand why you're racing against the other cars. They don't really play a factor in the time trial. They're just sort of there to slow you down. So here you'll see really nice weather effects in this snowy stage here. And you'll see right here I'm getting around these cars strategically. And the controls are buttery smooth in this game, the way you're able to just sort of maneuver around like this. And there's some nice animation on the vehicle whenever you turn your vehicle as well. It's a nice attention to detail. I may even go as far as to say, I know this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think I do like this game more than Outrun. I feel like this is my baby. You know, when this game came out originally, it was supposed to be an Outrun killer. You know, you can have your own discussion regarding that. But I enjoyed this more than Outrun, to be honest with you. It's more difficult, that's for sure. Now, what's odd about doing the time trial is it doesn't actually show you your time at the end of each stage, so it's just a matter of getting to the end, I guess. So for that reason, you can't really do a speed run. This game is on speedrun.com, but there's only like 4 guys that have submitted their runs, and it looks like they all use the Amiga version. And the thing is the Amiga version is quite a bit different than the Genesis version. Definitely has some better graphics, better audio, but the frame rate's really good in the Genesis version. It is running at a 60 FPS. Now, in case you're wondering, I do have the original Lotus Esprit Challenge for the Genesis, and it's really good as well, but it's tougher than a cheapsteak. It is really, really tough. I've played it on the channel before. Man, it's apparently the difficulty is toned down quite a bit on the Amiga version, but on the Genesis version, you're not going to be able to beat that in a single playthrough. It gives you passwords at the end of each stage for a reason. But as you can see here, I'm breezing through this stage, no troubles at all. A lot of times, your best success in this game is when you start out. Make sure you get past all the cars without hitting any of them at the beginning, and that just opens up the road so you don't have any obstacles, any other vehicles in front of you, like I have now, right? And you'll see that, I believe, on the next stage. It's more of like a dirty off-road track, and if you fuck up the beginning of it, you're screwed. You're gonna run out. So, see, I got hung up there again. I really like how the car kind of bobbles up and down as you're going over the icy road. Nice attention to detail. I also have Top Gear 2 for the Sega Genesis. I purchased it a while back, and I'm looking forward to tackling that one next as well. Now, to play through that one, it probably takes about maybe an hour and a half. So I don't know if I'll be... Well, I guess I could. I could definitely do a playthrough of that as well if you're interested. So you might be asking yourself, why didn't Gremlin port this game to the SNES? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know if the SNES could have played this game, could have ran this game as smoothly as it is here, to be honest with you. Because even if you go back, I know we're getting off topic here, but if you watch some comparison videos between Top Gear 2 on the Genesis and the SNES, you can clearly see which version is the superior version. So, like I said earlier, Sure, the SNES got the 3 Top Gear games, but in my eyes, the Genesis got the better pickings out of the lot, because the first 2 Lotus games, in my eyes, are right up there with the Top Gear games. They're really good. They're very underrated. So we're just breezing along here. Weaving in and out. And the music's really good in this game too, to be honest with you. Like I said, I wish I could have it on here, but need to hear the sound effects of the car, like I said. Okay, moving on to the next stage here. Car looks awesome, eh? See it weaving in and out. Just hustling. Doesn't take long for the clock to run down. Okay, so bouncing off that barrier didn't affect it didn't reduce the time, so I guess we can rule that out. I wasn't sure because we'll get to it in a few minutes, but the last stage, man, I would have so much difficulty completing it. So those puddles will slow you down when you go over them. Again, you wouldn't realize that if you're not playing it with just the sound effects. You wouldn't even realize it. So once I started playing it like this, I realized the things that I was being sort of careless about, you know, going over well, I guess you should realize, you know, a puddle, gee, look out, get out of the way, but you take it for granted when you can't hear the sound effects. You really do. Yeah, so this track here, so you got to get around these cars carefully and strategically, like a surgeon using a scalpel. Because if you don't get around them right here like this, you're going to get all jammed up and you're not going to be able to get around them because it's a very thin track. There's not much wiggle room, no pun intended. There had been many a times where I got to this stage and I shit the bed, all because I couldn't get in front of the cars at the very beginning. If you have a bad rollout, it'll screw up your whole game. And even here, not the greatest rollout, to be honest with you, but it's not a long stage. As long as you can sort of get out of the gate running, you should be fine. gotta stay on the road, because like if you go off the road even the slightest, it's gonna slow you down. Okay, so here's the final stage, and like I said, I don't know how many times I attempted to beat this. Like, I want to say maybe 50 times, maybe 40 or 50 times. I don't know if that's an exaggeration or not. I don't know. So it's a wide open track. You got to go around it 11 times. Towards the end, there's like a red section, and when you go over it, it gives you a speed boost. Problem is when you start banging into other cars, you'll quickly run out of time, and I would always get to like the 9th or the 10th lap, and I would run out of time. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but like I'm trying to be extra cautious not to bang into any cars at all on this track. Because prior to beating this today, I ran it with the red Lotus Esprit, and I got all the way to the end, and I got to the 10th lap, and I ran out of time. So I'm like, I'll try it with the green car. There we go, speed boost, and I was able to do it. There's different handling characteristics for each car. Like this car handles way better than the Esprit, I'll tell you that much. So, if you want to try this playthrough, if you want to run this through using the red Esprit, knock yourself out. But I wasn't able to do it. I have not tried it with the yellow car, and I have not tried it with the standard transmission. You have to count down the laps out loud, or you'll just lose track. So yeah, as you can see, we're hustling along pretty good here. You don't really need to use your brakes or slow down on this track, except for when you're on the red section where you get the boost, because if you don't let off the gas, you'll go careening right into the rocks on the left side of the track, as you'll see in just a moment. Right here. You see how smooth this game is running. It's a true testament as to the powerhouse that the Sega Genesis processor really was compared to the Super NES. So see right now, I've got over 80 seconds. No! And you'll see it won't take long for the time to tick down. And I almost ran out of time again towards the end. You'll see in a few minutes. See, back up to 93 seconds. That'll dwindle down fairly fast. Hustling pretty good here. I'm not gonna lie, I was almost not 100% sure if I was gonna be able to pull it off. A huge accomplishment for myself because I had been trying to see this to the end for a long time. At least as far as the time trial is concerned, I haven't tackled the championship yet. I have definitely attempted it, but I have not seen it all the way through. The championship mode, again, like I said, requires you to stop and refuel your vehicle when necessary, but the trick is some of the tracks don't require you to really stop and refuel, even though it's asking you to, because the tracks are short enough that you can get all the way to the end, and then when you start the next track, you're refueled. And then there are some other tracks, like this one here, where you'll run out of fuel, and you'll fill up all the way, and then you'll keep racing and it'll ask you to refuel again. Well, then you only need to refuel about halfway, because by then you're pretty much almost done. And if you were to refuel your whole tank, that's unnecessary because you don't need another full tank to complete the circuit, and you're just wasting time. And the thing is when you're playing the championship mode, if you don't finish in the top 3, it's game over. So you can see here, look, I'm already down 12 seconds, 11 seconds, 10 seconds. Unbelievable. With 3 seconds to spare, I did it.
Fucking did it! Finally!
See, it doesn't really give you your time here, though.
Finally!
So there you have it. Lotus 2 RECS. Also referred to as Lotus 3 for the Sega Genesis. Playthrough, no death run, speed run, beat screen. So we'll just sit back and enjoy this for a bit.
Lotus 2 RECS. Playthrough.
Just oozes 90s nostalgia.
No death run. Sega Genesis.
Gremlin graphics.
1993.
It's weird how he's now in a red car now. Short credits. There we have it. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.